Good evening, Guardians. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. You are hearing my sultry voice tonight because Corey is away on a business trip. Of course, I'm your host, Josh, and joining me as always is the only man fit to take our Tower Commander's spot. You know him as Yeetus Deletus, the Iron Lord, the Valis himself, A1 Johnny.
Thank you for the promotion. Much like old Salad Man, I'm happy to be embraced by the Cabal, and I'm happy to be here to talk to you guys about weapons and Destiny.
For sure, there's nobody we'd rather have to come talk about outfitting and maximizing our arsenals than you. We've promoted John to Valis, though, because if you haven't been listening to these audio messages in the helm, first off, you should know by now it's been a full year of these. You should be
Shame on you.
These. Shame on you. These are some of the best, little lore tidbits, and I weep for Ishtar Collective trying to archive all of these audio messages. I gotta say, I think this week's is one of my all-time favorites. Finding out not only that, but also reading the lore piece that we got from this week. Saladin is now a Valis. He's no longer Brachus. He's Valis Forge.
Got promoted in a week.
Even though we know time passes kind of funky in the Destiny universe because they made it seem like, oh my god, all this time has passed since the exorcism.
Yeah,
I was doing this 48 hours ago. Okay,
yeah, I don't know why they didn't do that at the end of the seasonal story instead of. Anyways, yeah.
When we talk about seasonal stories, though, can we just appreciate that this one, the core story, was really only 4 weeks long, and everything else is kind of supplementary, or it's in the Vox Obscura mission?
Yep. Yeah, I'm totally fine with that.
Really nice. I think we need to find a happy medium. I think 4 weeks is almost too short, especially for a story of the magnitude we were just told.
Yeah. And keeping in mind, people are still grinding out Witch Queen stuff. I mean, not everyone is like you or me, where we busted through everything in the first month, right?
And that's what I was kind of getting to. It makes sense that this is a shorter season narrative-wise, but I don't like the ones that take 9 or 10 weeks to play out either. 6 or 7 weeks is the happy medium, I feel.
Yep. Give us a month of dead time and a seasonal event, and that's totally fine.
Let us do the seasonal story, and then hey, when the seasonal story is over, give us a week or two off, and then bam, here's your Guardian games, your Festival of the Cost, your Christmas, your Dawning stuff. Here's all that shit to kind of round out the season, and it gives you a reason to be tuning in every week. We've likened it before to a TV show. You keep giving me those reasons, but that's all fine and dandy. We're here to talk about some very important things tonight, though. Tonight, we've got the TWAB for you. We've got a weapons blowout. We're going to talk about the Axios interview that Justin Truman did the day that I went on vacation. How dare you? This came out while I'm on my way to Florida, and I'm like, oh my god, you've got to be kidding me. It happened not even 24 hours after we did the last episode, so it is a few weeks old, but I still really wanted to touch on it because I think it's important to talk about it, to circle back around to a lot of the discussions we've had about the content vault, about the future of past content, how that might return, etc., etc. So, John, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and get into the TWAB. There's not a ton in here, but we have to start with they're doing the Festival of the Lost armor voting again. And they're trying to get us really hard to care about movie monsters.
It's, Josh, it's just a shame. I feel for you hunters, because this and last year's Monster Hunter set that they showed for us is amazing. It looks so good. But
yeah.
But I'll let you continue.
Okay. We're starting with movie monsters, okay? And I mean, you look at this, and I did not see the second set initially. I looked at this and I was like, man, this is actually kind of good. That may be my all-time favorite hunter cloak. It's fucking rad. It is
rad. The cloak, the glowy finger gloves look sick.
Oh god, dude, the boots. It's very reminiscent of the Crown of Sorrow.
Yeah,
armor in a lot of
with your
ways,
Black Panther
especially those
boots. Yep.
boots. Yeah, yeah. I like the Warlock set here. I don't love it, but I like it. I especially like that
Yeah,
bond.
I'm a big fan of the creature of the Black Lagoon. I watched a lot of B black and white horror movies growing up, so it's cool.
And then the Titan. Okay, we need to talk about the Titan for a second. What the fuck?
It looks better than last year's. Like I get it. I don't know what
It
movie it
does. It
was.
still doesn't look great. It's still the worst of the three.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Which is why your boy will never be voting monster as cool as the Hunter
No,
set looks. I'm
no.
sorry. I'm
I
sorry,
I
boys.
know,
But
and so here I was thinking, oh man, whatever. Like Max, okay, I've got enough robotic looking armor. Like if you look at my character, I basically look like a walking mech right now.
yeah, but the
Okay,
Titan is literally a Gundam. Like from the, me, I
the
don't know shit about
Titan is
anime. That's
literally a Gundam. This is fucking rad. Oh my god, I listen. If I know that these are just concepts, but as we saw last year, like the concepts were good, and then the execution in game
solid.
was
Yeah,
solid. I want them to look exactly like this in game.
yeah.
I
The
want to look
Warlock
like
set.
this is a late 80s Japanese anime.
Yeah, the
Because
Warlock
that
set looks amazing as well. I mean, you don't get many beefy armored Warlock looks,
they
right?
are so I just want to say there's a couple things I like here. One, there's no Warlock dress.
Yeah,
Fantastic. Incredible. No Warlock dress. It almost looks like they're wearing a Titan mark instead, realistically.
yeah.
The Titan, though, Bungie's gonna get sued. Bungie's gonna get sued by
Who makes
whoever.
Gundam?
Yeah, whoever makes Mobile Suit Gundam is gonna fucking sue them out the wazoo. This is like peak G1 Transformers look. This is wild. This is absolutely wild. I can't get over this. Bandai Namco is gonna come suing. They're
Oh
gonna
yeah.
come suing.
And
It's a
I think the Hunter set looks great here too.
I think the
I'm
Hunter
not
set.
crazy about the horn. Not crazy about the horn, but I
Nope,
really
I
hope
hate
that
it.
cloak. I really hope that cloak glows. I can't tell, but it
So
looks like it might.
I think a glowy cloak would kind of save this for me. But again, like this comes back to a discussion that we've had about armor before. I wish you could customize certain parts of armor, like
Yeah.
take off some of the flair of it, because
Mm.
I would. This reminds me very much of a Scion Flare cape. This
Yeah.
looks very similar to the ornament that we got.
Which
This
you boys
season.
did just get, which is awesome. But
We did just get. I especially like the gauntlets on the Hunter. I want to say that I really like the gauntlets.
I dig the asymmetrical look too. That's a very Hunter thing. I
Yep.
mean the monster one has it too, but it's much more pronounced here.
I mean, both well, I was going to say that the Titan has it too, but then I noticed the gigantic arm piece on the Zavala arm piece. Really.
Yeah, that's pretty common for Titans. You keep your right shoulder, you keep your shoulder charged shoulder extra armored, right?
I like this set a lot though. I'm voting mechs. Monsters are destined to lose. I did enjoy the meme that Paul Tassi put out earlier. It was like the year is 2032. Monsters have just lost for the 9th time. And it was like it was some combination of like the monster sets from
it was the monster sets and anime cat girls. It's just
yeah, he had like spiced them up. They looked almost like Age of Triumph-y to try and get like hive runes and shit.
You know what the Hunter mech set looks like to me? It looks like what Cade 6 would look like as a mech. Like if he had a mech suit.
It really does. So for me, this is the analogy that I had. The Titan is obviously Mobile Suit Gundam. The Hunter is definitely. I'm gonna reach really deep into our childhoods here, ladies and gentlemen. But he looks like a fucking Metabot. Okay. Does anybody remember Metabots? That shit was awesome when I was like 8 years old. I loved it. This looks like a Metabot to me, and the Warlock is like. It kind of reminds me of like Mewtwo wearing the armor in the intro to the first Pokemon movie.
Yeah.
This is dope though. I will drop $45 for all 3 sets of armor because my Titan's never not being a Gundam.
And honestly, at this point, one, to respect whatever artists have worked on these monster sets for both years, and two, to just make a bunch more money, really they should just give us both of them. Like the monster sets are cool, not cooler
Yeah.
than Gundams, not cooler than Power Ranger dinosaur armor. So, but they do
I'm
look cool.
I have come around to the belief, and I believe Corey and I discussed this last year. It's been a year, so I'm sure we've had this discussion a couple of times. John and I are talking this afternoon, though, and I says my ideal future would be give me the winner of this as a quest thing in game to
Yeah,
ensure everybody gets it. Put the other set in the especially now. You didn't really change a whole lot on the monster armor. Please
yeah,
just put
they
that
just
in
look
Eververse.
refined. The
Please
Hunter
just
one
let
is
us
done
earn
up
it.
to the nines, though. The Hunter monster armor compared to
They
last year, it's the same vibe.
absolutely
Yeah,
they 100% upgraded the hunter armor.
yeah,
Our friend Matt was texting me earlier and was like, he's like, I cannot I can't fathom being a hunter and trying to choose. And I was like,
yeah.
I mean, I got to go mechs because all three mech sets are good. Whereas like on the monsters, like the Warlock set is okay, but it's mainly that like Eye of Sauron bond that
Yeah,
I
it's just the
want.
helmet. Everything else, there's similar stuff. I guess that's the only clawed boots that Warlocks could get. But
Yeah,
who's
those
looking
are.
at Warlock boots? You know?
And then I mean, just God, Titans are just an abomination. Um, but man, it's hard because like I want to be like, I need that cloak, and then I'm like, well, I did just get a dinosaur set last year. Like this is
Yeah, you
cool. It's
got the
clearly
Raptor cloak. You
Godzilla
got the Scion
inspired.
cloak. You have a literal full spine animated cloak from the raid. Hunters aren't short
Yeah,
on good looking cloaks.
no, we're really not. I'm good. So how is the voting this year going to work though? It is a little bit different. So as long as you're listening to this within the first week that we publish it, starting on April 1st, on April Fool's Day, nonetheless, through the 6th, make sure that you have your promotional emails set up from Bungie. I know that's been an issue for a lot of people. They do suggest that if you have not been getting your emails, like the raid ones that they've been sending out, or like your lifetime stats that they did right before Witch Queen, to put in a new email and go through all the prompts again to ensure you get this. The 7th through the 13th of April, the polls are going to open, and it'll be done through email. On the 13th, they're going to close. On the 19th, they're going to give anybody who has played the game since the Witch Queen came out and participated in this poll an emblem. And I think this emblem is really dope looking. I really
Yeah.
like this. I mean, we have no shortage of cool emblems at this point. I'll probably never
Hmm.
use it, but I like little things like this.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, so you missed out. It's not that big of a deal, but hey, if you did it, here's something little.
Yeah. It's almost
Um,
a shame because there are, like you said, so many cool looking emblems, but at this point, I find it hard to use an emblem just on how it looks. I'm normally
yep,
picking my emblem based on how I got it, what I had to do to get it.
absolutely. I
Um,
mean, like, so many of us are still using what do you call it? We're still using the raid one from a couple years
mhm.
ago when we did our raid rings. That's like our day one raiding emblem that we all put on at this point.
Yep.
That we just leave on until we clear the raids. Um, we used that fugly ass legendary emblem for a little bit there. And now I think we've all just kind of like gone back to some of our old defaults. Like I like using my
I
my
I
burnt
really like the
toast.
week one VOD one. I think it looks really neat.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I like the spoils of Ishtar. That's one I've got on my
Okay.
warlock.
But
Um,
my default, if I'm not flexing some kind of current thing, is still the laser tag weekend emblem.
well, so you are flexing though because
Yeah.
you are the only person I know with that emblem.
Who was sad enough to still be playing Curse of Osiris a month after it came out. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really cool. And they will let us know in the future. I think last year it was like a month after they let us know who won. So before the next season, we should know who won this. Um, excited for that. But we gotta shift into some stuff that's gonna be going away. The
Uh-oh.
unbroken seal is going to finally be retired. For those who wish
I'm
to
sure
display
you're
this,
heartbroken.
so heartbroken. For those who wish to display Crucible Mastery, we offer the Unbroken Seal and title. It takes 3 full seasons of reaching Legend in the Survival playlist alongside other Triumph requirements to earn the seal. This week we have an update from the dev team on future availability. In season 19. Now, you may ask yourself, when's season 19? This is season 16 for the record. We're in season 16. Season 19 will be just before Lightfall. So think Thanksgiving time frame for what they're talking about here. We're taking a pass on Glory in season 19, and what playlists offer Glory? How do players earn it? What does becoming legend look like? While we can't answer any of these questions yet, we want to plant a flag in the sand for the time frame. As part of our update for Glory, the Unbroken Seal and title will be retired due to the multi-season requirements of Glory, which is reach legend 3 seasons in a row. Season 16 will be the last season for players to start their journey to Unbroken. As such, we want to keep players informed on the plans. Currently, the seal requirements are significantly more time-consuming than any other seal, and we want to bring it in line with other seals. Thank fucking God.
Right?
Players who attain the seal prior to its retirement will still be able to display it, including your gilding count. We are intending on replacing it with a similarly challenging Crucible seal, just with less required multi-season commitment. We will have more information as we get closer to season 19. So, just like as an FYI to anyone who may be listening to this who is a Crucible god who is not us, essentially, good luck. I hope you get it. We've had a few friends come really close to hitting Legend before. I'd love to see at least one of them get that title to flex on us. And there's a little note here at the end, which is something John and I have been clamoring for quite a long time. We have another title coming to the Crucible in the short term. We know you're howling for more information, but expect additional details when we get closer to next season. Iron Lord Seal is coming, baby! Iron Banner! Oh, baby. There's only
Hit
two
me with the good shit,
possibilities for
Iron
what you
Daddy.
could call this. No, well, actually there may be 3. I think there's 3 different titles you could use. The most likely, obviously, Iron Lord.
Yeah.
There's no way you don't do Iron Lord. Young Wolf is another one because canonically we are the Young Wolf, and I think
We get called that quite a bit too in game.
Yep.
Right.
And then the third, and the only reason I'm throwing this out there is because we know the Iron Banner rework is coming next. What'd you say?
I said I'm curious what your third potential title is here.
We know the rework is coming, and we know that Saladin has told us in game that Keitel has ideas for the Iron Banner.
Yeah.
Give me Brachus as a title.
That would be really cool. I still don't think it's appropriate for an Iron Banner.
I don't think it is either, but let me dream, John!
I guess the Cabal are doing their own Iron Banners now, which is...
So, the question I have to ask now is, do we get the Iron Banner, the Iron Lord's axe, as an exotic at some point through Iron Banner?
Oh, please. I would do anything. I as someone who didn't get to play Rise of Iron in real time, I went back last year when I was bored and played through D1 again and played through that expansion for the first time. I was ecstatic when I found out you got to play around with old Salad Man's axe. And last year when they teased, when they were making the trials changes and about 3-peaking with swords and stuff, and they said in the future that new melee weapons would not be in third person. Yep. I was like, oh my God, we're going to get axes. We're going to get warhammers. We're going and I wasn't expecting glaives in the energy slot, but still, come on, Bungo, give me an exotic.
Waiting for the Hammer of Proving to be one.
Yeah. Give me that. Give me Salad Man's axe, please.
I'm ready. Give me the hammer. Give me the axe. Give me all the wacky shit, Bungie. Let's do it. Starting this next week, though, on April 5th, we have a lot of shit that's going to be happening next week. Next week's actually a really busy week for ritual activities. Grandmasters come back on April 5th.
Ooh, baby.
So I know John's excited. I know he's been pacing at night, laying awake in a cold sweat, wondering how the fuck am I going to do the light blade on Grandmaster, let alone, I believe Scarlet Keep is one as well.
Scarlet Keep, Glassway's back. The other new strike is on the list.
Birthplace of the Vile may be one of the easier ones.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not as worried about that one.
No. I may attempt Grandmaster on that one. I hope this is the season where I wrap up my Grandmaster title. I need 2 more unique strikes, I think. So,
sidebar, I think I'm bringing Anarchy to the Birthplace of the Vile, specifically for that hallway.
Good the other night when we were doing, we were running it on not on Legend, I believe.
Yeah, the Legend psyops. Yeah.
Man, it was doing the business.
Yeah, that's it. That's something, it may not be the DPS king. I don't think I'm bringing Anarchy to a raid anytime soon, but it still
No.
remains good for champions. You
Well,
especially in
actually,
this.
believe it or not, I think Anarchy may actually be good for Caretaker.
Yeah, yeah. When they nerfed Anarchy, I did one prophecy run where I had my team run Sleeper because that was the big
Mm-hmm.
thing then,
Mm-hmm.
and then I ran Anarchy and my Adept Uzume, and I did about the same amount of damage. But of course, that's using two weapons. It's still a playstyle I enjoy, but
Right.
especially in the current meta where you need to run double primaries to deal with champions, that's what Anarchy is so good for because you stun them, you give them some Anarchy nipples, and then you switch back to your stunning weapon and you let that tickle them down. And when you're doing hard stuff, Anarchy is so good for being able to keep consistent damage on a boss while staying in cover and moving and dealing with ads and everything else. Poke up,
Right.
Anarchy nipples, back to dealing with ads and staying alive. So we'll see. But specifically in Birthplace of the Vile, that long hallway with all the invisible screebs, I'm just gonna put
Oh
up
my
an Anarchy
god.
chain right on the
No.
staircase. Right. So we'll see. But I'm sure the next time I'm on, we'll talk about Grandmasters.
Yeah, I mean Grandmasters. I think it's become time to have a conversation about Grandmaster and Master Nightfalls, as far as I'm concerned. But of course, you guys know the deal with Grandmasters by this point. 1575 power, so maximize that pinnacle power. Revives are limited. Champions in a lot of encounters, combatants take more hits, deal more damage, are far more aggressive. Blah blah blah. And the weapons that are available to you next week: Adept Palindrome and Adept Plug One. What a great fucking combo of weapons.
Yeah. And they have new roles, which I was not expecting.
They
There's
have
new
new
perks.
roles and double Vanguard rep
Yep,
next
which is
week.
probably the only. It's funny that I play so many Nightfalls and I get so little progress in Vanguard because most of my time is spent struggling just to get one completion. So I
Yeah.
can play Grandmasters for a month and a half and not even get Zavala halfway through a
This
rank.
is if you didn't do it the first time it was around when Arms Dealer was the Nightfall, this is the time to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got my whole first reset like the second week of the season because it was Arms Dealer and it's like a 5-minute run on normal Nightfall or on like tier 2 Nightfall difficulty. So I was just speeding through that in under 10 minutes and getting like 1,000 rep when I got to the ×5.
Yeah.
So like 12 runs got me a total reset. So I was like, yes, I'm done. Now I don't have to, because I always forget to go do, I resent strikes so much at this point. I'm
Yep.
so tired of the Arms
Yeah,
Dealer.
the the Battlegrounds edition is neat. They still
That's great.
it would be
It's
a whole
great.
podcast of what needs
Yeah.
to happen to the ritual playlist. But anyways,
We're going to save some of those discussions for this summer. We covered them last summer. We're going to save them for this summer, I think. Uh, Gambit Labs is also coming in. Invasion Swap is showing up for the first time. I don't know if this will get me to play Gambit, but I will at least try this new mode out.
I'm at least interested to see. It sounds neat. A good
Both
twist on
Gambit
it.
matchmaking modes, main and freelance, will feature Invasion Swap. This iteration of Gambit will change up who gets invasions during the moats phase of the activity. When a given team reaches 25 and 75 banked moats, the opposing team will be given one invasion. Strategies might change in a few ways for invaders and bankers. Go for largest blockers to start, stagger large and small to keep your opponents on their toes, invade immediately, blah, blah, blah. We're excited to see how players take on the twist. Gambit rep will also be doubled for the weeks that Gambit Labs is active. Um, Gambit, I don't think it's lost on any of us, is the activity that honestly probably just needs to be shelved.
Yeah,
It is absolutely the one that
which is
needs. God, I don't
it's
know
sad.
how. There are people. There are people. It's a very small amount of the player base, but there are people who are Gambit mains in this game. And God help
What
you, I don't know how y'all do it.
What's interesting to me is I find that people that play a lot of Gambit are usually new players for whatever reason.
Yep.
Maybe we're too jaded, we're too into the meta, we care
I
too much about winning. I don't know what it is, but new players actually like my girlfriend, my people in my D&D group that I've gotten into Destiny in the last 1 or 2
Matt's
years.
wife. Yeah.
Yeah. They play a lot of Gambit. I
Chelsea
don't know
Chelsea
why,
loves Gambit.
but
She's
yeah,
always said like if she ever came back, she'll play a lot of Gambit. And I'm like, for me, I think it's because Gambit is for all of our complaints, it does something that no other game does, and that's the PvEVP aspect of it. I think. Um,
yeah.
and yeah, I think we're
It's
jaded because and here's the thing, like everybody's like, "Ah, Gambit's always sucked. It sucks since it was introduced." No, it really wasn't. It's the fact that we haven't had it really updated. We haven't had any new maps in 3 years. But on top of that, it was really when Truth was introduced that I
mhm.
think Gambit became unplayable.
I,
Tracking
I,
rockets fundamentally changed how invading worked, and it became less of, oh, okay, like whoever's invading actually has to have some level of skill, and now it's just, oh, you just got to lock on and shoot. Eyes of Tomorrow has made it a joke.
yeah.
Gallarhorn.
And even
Uh,
before that, even in the Forsaken years, there's a reason no one ever uses Queenbreaker, right? There's a reason no one ever used Sleeper until it got buffed last season, and it
mm-hmm.
was because linear fusions died for Gambit sins, right? That's the worst insult that Gambit throws on the entire community is when something gets nerfed because it's good in Gambit. Ugh. But
Yeah,
luckily, but
I'm at the point where I just you and I think have both reached the point where okay, if there happens to be a 4 stack of homies on, we might go bang out some to get our powerfuls and get our bounties done
yeah.
or our seasonal
And,
challenges, but
and
I
even
just
even when we do that, even when we raffle stomp 4 or 5 games, it's still not fun, right?
they
We're not
take
like,
so
woo.
long. They take so long. They're not fun. The changes in theory were supposed to be good, but you damage the primeval way too slow now.
Yeah, and I
God,
still feel
again,
like
we could have a
despite
whole
all the
pod. We could have a whole
yeah,
pod of
yeah,
bitching about
yeah,
Gambit. But Gambit Labs, yeah, I will at least go. I will give this the old college try. Um, we have we have another Labs next week though. On Friday, April 8th, Trials Freelance returns. Playlist consists of solo players only. Communications will be limited. You never know which one of your teammates will be a lone wolf. It will appear as an additional matchmaking node in the Crucible Director. Grab your passage, maximize power, give it a try. Uh, and I'm very curious to see how this goes.
yeah.
A lot of people seem to really like when the solo node for Trials is up. I have yet to figure out why it's not a permanent addition at this point. Um,
I I feel like it's just because population size is
yeah,
already the constant issue with trials, right? Like those few
yeah,
weekends when there's new loot and there's suddenly a 500,000 or 600,000 people in trials. That's when it feels good. So further splintering the population is probably why they don't keep it. Sadly, because I think solo trials is fun.
yeah. I guess. I personally did not care for solo Trials when I did. I mean, I usually play. It's funny, like Trials is the one PvP mode where I willingly go into the main playlist solo.
Yeah,
I just it's weird. I feel like I play a little bit better.
yeah.
Um, and I mean,
You're
it's either that or I will go in with one other person. I don't like going in with a full 3 stack. And I think it's just because like, okay, well, like two of us can communicate, and like whatever the third one decides to do, whether he's a distraction or he's actually good, fantastic. You
yeah.
know, great. So, um, I want to make sure that there wasn't anything else here.
Yeah, hotfix and known bugs.
Yeah, I was reading something on Reddit real quick.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, nope, nope. Scrolling down, if there's anything, I mean, hotfix stuff. Go ahead and read it if you want to. There's uh, there's some stuff on known issues to look at, but nothing really like major. I don't think. Um,
This D&D statue of Saint in the
uh,
artwork section is actually
yeah,
pretty amazing.
I wanted to shout that out. I always encourage, hey, go look at artist of the week, occasionally check out movie of the week. God, this Saint 14 is fucking dope. Um, if I could buy that, I would instantly buy
Right.
it. It wouldn't even
With
be
the dead,
funny.
I just noticed the dead Vex on the
Yep.
platform underneath him. That's so cool. Man, that's so cool. I love Saint. Anyways,
Yeah. Let's see here. Nope. I don't think there's anything else. Oh, there is a Trials Lab. If you're listening to this today, it comes out. There is a Trials Lab this weekend. Um, I forgot we completely skipped last week because I was in the middle of the Bahamas when the TWAB posted, so I was not going to be podcasting. I would have been in a lot of trouble. I was busy knocking back some vacation juices, but Zone Capture Trials and Double Trials Rep this weekend. So I will be popping into Trials and
yeah,
suffering a little bit. I'm very
bring a
curious to
Witherhorde.
see what bring Witherhorde or oh god, I'm forgetting the name of it. Explosive Personality.
Yeah, yeah. Bring a
Um,
Waveframe. Bring a Witherhorde. Bring a Warlock with some stasis turrets.
oh man, it's gonna
I
be
believe my fire team, my friends Phil and Forrest, we're going to go triple Warlocks with Void Buddy, Arc Buddy, and Stasis turrets, and we're just going to cheese
oof,
it and have a good old time.
oof. I may have to get on that with some invis. Um, but that's gonna do it for the TWAB for us for this week. I'm gonna scroll through and find my. I had the interview bookmarked. Of course, I had everything pulled up. I had to reboot my computer right as we were getting started. So I got to scroll back through. Thankfully, it's not too deep in my likes. Part of the benefits of being on vacation for a while. And then I forgot Moon Knight came out last night, so I liked a whole bunch of shit.
You did DM it to me recently. If you want to just scroll through that.
I did. I'm already pretty deep down the rabbit hole over here. Oh, god damn it! I hate when I go on vacation and I can't find things. Here we go. Is this it? No, that's a different GDC Destiny one. They talked about there was a really good talk at GDC. I'll go ahead and just talk about this while I'm looking for it, where they discussed Grandmaster difficulty, and basically Bungie's designers said that if you're not if your new thing, your new challenge is not being, thank you, John, if
Yeah,
it's not being talked about on Reddit and Twitter, you did it wrong. Like your activity sucks basically.
yeah,
But also that they put designers on it, and let's see here, Alan Blaine was talking about it. He's the principal technical game designer over at Bungie. um, he said back at Grandmaster Nightfalls in 2019, uh, they they wanted to tune it so hard that maybe only 100 people would beat it in a season. Says 42,000 players beat it week one. Um, development costs for tuning Nightfall, and I'm reading all this from Steven Totsillo over at Axios, who did the interview we're about to cover too. Development costs for tuning Nightfalls into that difficulty was initially a couple weeks for one designer and one tester, but that making Nightfalls for a season now costs less than a day. Grandmaster Nightfalls had about 175,000 weekly active users in late 2021 for season 15. Um, that they wanted to, and they also have a desire to create something super challenging for solo players, leading to Legend and Master Lost sectors. They get 150,000 hours of playtime a week. Says devs spent less than 500 hours to implement them in the last year and a half. And he gave some advice to fellow developers: err on the side of tuning your challenges to be too hard, as it's easier to make them. It's better to make them easier than the other way around, and err on
yeah.
tuning rewards too low, so you can make them more powerful rather than upset players by nerfing them. And if nobody is talking about your new multiplayer challenge on forums, Reddit, etc., it's a sign you made it too easy. Um, I fully agree with all this. I think I speak for John when I say that, like, John especially really likes Grandmaster difficulty. I've started coming around in recent seasons, but still, I have a limit to it, and a lot of it has to do with champions and the restricted loadouts that those force you to run.
Yeah.
I fully believe I would enjoy Grandmaster difficulty more if it was more akin to the Legendary campaign.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
and that's an again a topic for, we have a lot of topics for another day that I'm going to store in my rainy day file, that we'll get to this season or next, when we have some pretty big breaks. But I thought that was a really good insight. There was a lot of good stuff that happened at GDC that was being talked about. Encourage you guys to go look at some of that. But Axios did an interview with Justin Truman. It came out on March the 18th. So, yeah, about 2 weeks ago. I think it literally came out the morning after came out the morning after we recorded the last episode. Like, we hit publish, and I just messaged Corey going, God damn it. But it's titled How Bungie Keeps Making Destiny 2 5 years after release. Axios, for those of you who don't know, kind of bullet points stuff instead of it being traditional long form journalism, which I think makes it a little bit easier to digest some of the quotes. So Bungie's methods. Hundreds of developers work on the game year-round as Destiny 2 evolves through weekly gameplay updates and storyline progression, so the game feels like a weekly TV show, as well as through 3 month specially themed seasons and near-annual bigger expansions. Bungie teams are set to work on specific disciplines, for example, an in-game rewards team, seasonal activities, and so on, which is a change from early Destiny when teams were divided by content releases such as specific expansions. The direction used to feel more inconsistent as different teams oversaw different phases of its life cycle, but Justin Truman says now each piece of the game has these expert owners that are evolving their part of Destiny over multiple years. And he also did address very quickly the workplace toxicity issues that Rebecca Valentine wrote about for IGN last year, saying it needs to do more to support its people and outlined ongoing changes, and that they're continuing to push forward on those fronts. Now, what's the meat of this, though, that why we want to talk about it? All this, but no Destiny 3. We want it to be a single evolving world. And I think this is just one of the key quotes. This is one of the key quotes we're going to talk about here. We're trying to make Disneyland, right? And you don't build Disneyland 2. You update it, improve it, and make it more modern.
Preach.
I would agree with this if Disney World did not exist. I have to say that.
We don't talk about Florida, Josh.
As a long-time Disney park stan, I have to mention that. Disney World gave me 4 parks instead of 2, okay? But Truman says a single game was always the vision for Destiny, as he diplomatically avoided naming Activision. It was harder for us to maintain the true spirit of our vision until we were able to be creatively independent and direct how we saw the Destiny universe could go. This is something we've suspected for a very long time, is that they always wanted to make it a single ongoing game. This is not overly surprising, I don't think. We've talked about the possibility for a Destiny 3 for a long time, and I've kind of wavered on, do I think they're going to do a 3, or do I think that they're just going to drop the 2 eventually and like rename Destiny 1 Destiny Classic or something, and make this game that we're playing right now just call it Destiny. And he kind of goes into that in this final one of these final sections. The vaulting controversy. They've described it as an effort to control file sizes. The game takes up around 100 gigs, and it allows to help focus development and keep the player base from fracturing across too many activities. Past content became an anchor that prevented you from moving forward and creating something new in terms of content, Justin Truman says. With Forsaken, Bungie spared one of its main 2 explorable zones, the Dreaming City, and many of its rewards. Truman says all that was more endgame content, which the studio considers more evergreen. On whether fans should expect Beyond Light or the Witch Queen to someday be vaulted as well, I don't know. That is how we are currently managing the technical complexity. But he says increased storage options, including the cloud, could remove one need to vault, though development and platform restrictions could still be an issue. It's hard to tell what the story will look like 4 years from now. I think this is really important because Corey and I have kind of bounced this around a little bit. Like, give me the option to download these campaigns if I want to. At least keep the planets and the strikes in game, but like, give me a legacy raids pack and like legacy story packs that I can download if I want to play through those missions again. Because what takes up a lot of that space is the audio files. A lot of Bungie's audio takes up a bunch of space. Language packs, things like that. Give me the option if I want to install those or not. Like, I'm not going to be jonesing to play through the old campaigns again, most likely. As we've talked before, a lot of those are bloated. They have filler missions. They may be cool stories like the Red War, and maybe that should just be in the game by default. And I really think it should be, since it's the core story of D2.
I almost wonder if there's some way that they could direct new players to start there. Just play through some older campaigns.
I think honestly, you should be forced to play the Red War if you're just starting out in D2.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's the best New Light experience. And then after that, give players the option, like, if you want to continue the story, here you go. Here's Curse of Osiris and Warmind, LOL. If you want like the expansion content, or you can jump to the next major chapter, which is Forsaken. I understand the desire to let everybody play with their friends, but at this point, how many people are really joining this game that have never tried it before? This is a game that, and partially due to, I don't want to blame vaulting. I think it was already convoluted to get into before vaulting started with Beyond Light. I think that's just an easy scapegoat for this conversation.
Yeah.
Destiny has been made more and more complex over the years. I think it's very difficult for new players to kind of grasp some of what's going on. And like, I definitely get the story concerns, don't get me wrong. And I think that's part of what Justin's trying to address here is we never wanted to have to get rid of the Destiny 1 content. We wanted it to be an evolving story, and they couldn't. I mean, you have to remember, that was a game that ran on the 360 and on PS3. Likewise, Destiny 2 is now being hamstrung by the very long in the tooth Xbox One and PS4. We know they did a bit of an engine update on the back end with Beyond Light, and they've continued it with the Witch Queen. That's part of why some content that was taken out is being brought back in. They've had to update multiplayer maps and strikes and things like that. I would still really like to see content packs. Again, you have the option to download them remotely, or hey, if you just want to play these campaigns, you're going to be in your own instances. You can play them in the cloud. Um, and we kind of get an inkling that that may be the way that they're headed with this, because at GDC there was a slide that was shown, and it was showing how they kind of lay out how the teams work on certain things. Like teams that worked on something like a year ago are working on the next season that's a year out. And that's, they've got storytellers there. They've got what you call it? They've got storytellers. They've got designers. They've got rewards teams. And as you're doing that, there is a big fat redacted section right underneath the final shape. John, have you seen this?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've seen these screenshots.
So, and it's, in terms of the timeline, it's a little bit past the final shape, and then that's like that looks like just a little bit beyond that. Like, and everybody's going, "Oh my god, what's redacted? Is this Destiny 3? Is this Destiny 3?" And then this interview gets published like right around the same time. It's like,
Yeah.
nope, it's not Destiny 3. I think that is them finally dropping the 2 and saying this is Destiny, but we're gonna put everything else is going to be manageable from the cloud. I think that if you haven't already done it, that is absolutely where you have to sit there and say, we're done. You can no longer update this game on Xbox One and PS4. It is not possible. It is
Yeah.
simply not possible anymore. I don't know how, if you're playing the Witch Queen, I don't know how you're playing this in 30 frames. I have no idea.
Honestly, if we didn't have the superconductor shortage and COVID and all that has made Series X's and PS5s insanely hard to get a hold of these past 2 years, I'm pretty sure Witch Queen would have been a next gen and PC only. That's where they
Well,
would have broken
and
it off.
we're kind of getting to the point where Series X and Series S are pretty, I wouldn't say easy to find, but they are significantly easier to get a hold of than a
Yeah.
PS5. And even PS5's had a pretty decent amount of restocks lately. I think we may be finally rounding the corner. We knew that going into this next holiday season was probably going to solve it finally. Consoles are, of course, always hard to find around the holidays. Maybe we solve it around summer, and then, of course, the fall is just going to drain everything again. I'm hoping, and I feel bad for those who play on 360 or not God, Xbox One and PS4. I feel bad for saying this to you guys, but I think we have to draw a line in the sand, and Lightfall may have to be it,
Yeah.
because we are clearly at the limits of what those consoles can handle in terms of an ongoing, evolving game. And I don't know if like maybe shifting to just PC and next gen will allow them to like significantly make the file sizes smaller. Like, we all know the struggle that PS4 goes through to download any Destiny update. Yeah, you have to copy it and all this stuff, and that taxes the system for you. Is there a way that we could avoid that in the future? And I think that's one of the questions Bungie's trying to tackle, especially with them now being an internal studio at Sony. Maybe there's a way like, hey, we'll give you some of our guys to help you with your games as a service. Give us some of your engineers so we can make these file sizes significantly smaller.
Yeah.
and we can access cloud-based solutions. We know
And
they're still chummy with Microsoft and with Azure and things like that. Like, hey, can we all? But PlayStation uses Azure servers for a lot of their games.
yeah,
Is there
Sony's
a
been working
way?
with Microsoft for the last couple of years to develop
Yeah,
a cloud outreach, right?
right. Like, could you develop an infrastructure using Azure as your backbone and update this game, but be able to host that content in the cloud? And I don't know anything about development. This is me armchair QBing the thing. But is there a way to do all that? And I think that's a question that we have to ask ourselves about the future of Destiny, because I don't want to get to a point where I cannot access stories that I paid for. That actually really does grind my gears. Even though I may not be playing those stories anymore, it does bother me that I can't introduce somebody new to Destiny, or even my girlfriend. Chelsea
Yeah.
has not played in a long time. Shadowkeep was the last expansion she played through the story of. Like, you're gonna tell me that eventually Beyond Light's gonna be gone? Like, she already can't play the past seasonal content of the last 3 years, and that's more okay. But
Yeah.
she has said, like, in the future, like, if and when she gets some time, she'd at least like to sit down and blow through the campaigns or something. And now knowing that that may not be an option anymore is really frustrating. I get turn when you turn off the servers, that's one thing. I think to be taking away story content that we paid for is another. Like, listen, we all liked Menagerie, but the simple fact is that we have systems that are for loot and for events that are significantly better than what Menagerie was. Like, some of us look at the past with such rose tinted glasses that it's funny. In a couple years, y'all are going to be nostalgic for Battlegrounds and like fucking Expunge.
Yeah.
Like, y'all are
No,
going to be
it's
nostalgic for that. And
am I not the biggest menagerie simp personally?
you really are. But is that something, even with an updated loophole, that you would want to have to play a ton every
3 years
single
later,
year? three
absolutely
years
not.
later, the chalice was a pain in the ass.
Hmm.
I did not like
I
the
have friends who
chalice.
played a ton of Menagerie and they still don't understand exactly how that worked. Only, oh, do you want this thing? Let me tell you what the secret code is to get
Yeah,
that
I mean,
thing.
we're
You
starting to
know,
sit here looking on our phone to figure out what the right combination for the runes was. Like, it was a good idea, but I think that, like, the loot system was really flawed. And just like,
yeah.
I
It was our
like
first 6-player match made activity. It was
oh, it was great.
special,
It was
but
great. It was really special, and it was a glimpse of what was to come. But I think making things on a smaller scale has definitely been better for them, that they can rotate out. Like, sure, something like Override may be in the game for like 9 months and then it goes away. That's fine. By
yeah,
the end of season of the Splicer or whatever, at the end of that 3 months, I was ready to never touch that activity again.
yeah. Who's pining for some more sundial runs right now?
Oh my god. Yeah, like we can bemoan that story content is no longer accessible. And that I do think that is a shame. I do think we need a cinematics viewer in this game. I've talked about a theater mode for a long
Hmm.
time. But if you're acting like it's some great injustice that you can't go do the sundial, or yeah, who wants to go boot up a Vex offensive?
Oh
Um, you know,
baby, let me get
who
some of
want
those ugly leaf-covered guns. Hit me up with it.
God, that were completely useless. We talk about things that, on the flip side, there are things that have gone away that I really wish were optional. Like, I'd love for a legacy missions pack to be a thing you could download,
Yeah,
and it has like the missions where you save Saint 14. It has
yeah.
the
I was just
corridors of
about to say I
time.
may not want to run the sundial again, but that whole arc that we went through with Saint as
Hmm.
we saved him is worthy of preserving.
I'd love that. I'd like to have the exorcism in here still. Expunge Delphi with the Quaria mission. Um, I the fact that I completely blanked on the name of it. Presage not
Yeah,
being in this game anymore is a fucking crime.
even the
Um,
story bits with Drifter way back in season of the Drifter, that was some
yeah.
awesome storytelling.
I mean, and I've said, like, I think there's a healthy medium here. Like, right, I think those things could be brought back in, and like, oh, these are special missions. And I think, like, if you went to the specific person to like launch them, that would be a healthy medium. So we're not clogging up or you put a node inside of Legends, and like Legend or Legend events, and you click on it and like, oh, you have all these different story missions you can go play. Right, you must have this
Yeah,
pack installed though. Similarly, like, I don't think there's any reason for, and I get that strikes now are so much more dense, they have mechanics, It would take a
Mhm.
lot of manpower to probably update those older strikes, but I think it would be worth it to do it so that because the strikes playlist should never feel like you're only hitting the same 3 or 4 in a row. I think that's why Battlegrounds has been
Or
so
the
refreshing to be
Crucible
added.
playlist. It boggles my mind that they took like 18 maps, or and that's an exaggeration, but that they took so many maps out of Crucible, and it was already suffering from not having any new maps in Shadowkeep. We got one map of Shadowkeep, and they took so many away, and it just I understand the technical limitations. I
Mhm.
I hear all of their reasoning for
Yep.
vaulting, and
Yep.
I
Yep.
get it and understand it. Still doesn't make it feel any better, right?
No, and conversely, it doesn't feel any better when I get Eternity 5 matches in a row this time around. Like,
Yeah.
okay, great, I get it. You guys brought it back. I fucking hated this the first time it was in it. I don't like it anymore now. Thanks for bringing back my least favorite map ever. But you brought back Vostok, so I'm willing to forgive you a little bit. We finally have another long range map, and I really, as a scout user, I really like this. Um, like obviously that's gonna have to be addressed going forward, but kind of continuing down on this, he kind of addresses a lot of what we just said here, right? New players face a tricky onboarding process. They have allowed seasonal content to linger longer to allow players to catch up, but vaulting makes it impossible for them to play the earlier chapters. I don't think we figured out exactly what the right way is for someone to feel like they're catching up and they get to participate the right way with something that happened 2 years ago that has since been patched and changed so much. He does note they're experimenting with solutions. I have to imagine this is cloud based, cloud and download based. I have to imagine this is some sort of like content pack you can download in the future.
Yeah.
Um, and then I really like that he owns up to this. Live events are also a work in progress after Bungie's early attempts at Fortnite style game wide live spectacles fizzled. Truman pointed to a special multiplayer mission offered for just 1 week in February as a Destiny version of a live event. It was used to tee up the next expansion, though Bungie accidentally allowed players to skip a key cinematic scene that played at its conclusion. You live and learn, Truman says. I I like the owning up to that, like the Almighty crashing into the tower, quote unquote, was a big fucking dud. Remember, we all gathered in the tower for like 3 hours to watch this thing, and we were like, God, is this ever going to
Yeah.
happen or not?
And that was such a shame because what was happening was so cool. Why the fuck did it take 3 hours? You
Yeah,
know,
why it should have taken like 3 minutes and just like play it on a fucking loop for the day or something. I don't know. That was really frustrating. And then the Traveler healing, when that happened,
mhm,
right as the service
mhm.
went offline for Beyond Light, so
Getting
many
to
of our
explore a little part of the city, that was so cool.
that was cool. Our friends were getting DC during it.
Really?
Yeah, we had friends who were getting DC. At least I had a couple
Wow.
friends who were getting DC during it, who, they were getting in with like a minute or two to go. Because they had been kicked out. They'd been hanging out in there for like 30 minutes and then got kicked. Um, I myself had issues getting into the instance at first. I just had to keep hanging out in the city. I couldn't progress.
Not to
Um,
excuse it, but I believe that was, like, right during the beginning of the work from home, holy shit, COVID
um,
thing,
so
if
this
my
one,
math
so
is right.
the Almighty event was right at the beginning of work from home.
Okay.
Because that was in April 2020. The Traveler
God,
Healing was in
been
November 2020.
have we really been in this shit for that long?
We've really
Anyways.
been in this shit for 2 years. Yeah. Um, and so I like that they kind of admit it here and that they say, like, our idea of a live event now is something you can access for. I do think it needs to be longer than a week. I think 1 week is just too unforgiving. I really think it needs to be two,
Yeah.
but I like that they're at least owning up to this. They're owning up to it. They're admitting it, and I do think the exorcism mission was very cool. I liked
Yeah.
that mission a lot,
Yeah.
but that's the definition of something like that's such an important story beat. I really wish this could still exist in the game. Like, I'm not clamoring for the Shattered Realm or like Astral Alignment to stay around, but this mission was kind of cool. Like, I'd really like for it to stick around. I think it gives context for where we are, especially knowing what you find out in the Witch Queen about where Savathun swapped her body to.
Mhm.
Like, her body was just chilling outside or whatever she switched with. Osiris's body was just like chilling right outside the city.
The the spirit of her worm coiled around the top of that tower in the Dreaming City as you're running across the bridge. I want a 4K screen grab of that. I want a
Oh, it's
wallpaper of
time
that.
for
It was just
Gambit, brother.
so
That's the other reason I liked it. There was nothing to fucking dunk in this. It was great. It was great. There was no dunking involved. The bridge was built subtly throughout the whole season, and nobody noticed it. All these things are
which is
really
wild
cool.
for this community.
This is, and that's part of what makes I think Destiny so special to so many of us, right? So what's next? Um, they said more seasons will follow this year, and at least 2 more expansions for the game have been announced. It's exciting because I feel like we're out on this frontier. Uh, Truman says that the comment was not about the game's storytelling, but could apply to Destiny, or it was about the game's storytelling, but could apply to Destiny 2 overall. I also know we have not reached the destination. Um, you and I have talked about this. I think every time you've been on here, Corey and I have talked about it. I swear we bring it up like once every month now. But last year, Joe Blackburn, when he took over as co-game director with Justin Truman, said that he felt we've said for so many years that Destiny's best days are still ahead of it. And he's like, I feel like we're finally reaching that point that we can say that the best days are here. And I think that's been affirmed with the Witch Queen. And a lot there
Yeah,
are some valid criticisms of the Witch Queen, namely PvP. PvP, like I don't even consider Gambit anymore. PvP is
yeah.
absolutely a very, very black mark on an otherwise great game. And it's just at this point, it was inexcusable this time last year. It's a fucking meme at this
Laughable.
point.
It's
It's
laughable.
not even
Yeah.
it's just pathetic. We know that some of the change, and it's clear they have changes coming all year for PvP. Right, they're already telling us about a change to the glory playlist and to the and to the unbroken title. We know an Iron Lord title is coming along with an Iron Banner refresh next season.
Yeah.
I think that also
And we're
kind of gives us a timeline for what reward revamps may look like. That next
yeah.
season will probably be Saladin, and I wouldn't say it
And
would be
we're
too much
we're
of a.
due for a trials refresh, aren't we? It was the
I
the
believe the
season
trials.
after Beyond Light.
I believe the trials refresh will be next season as well. That they'll do refreshes on both of those. That probably leaves Zavala for the fall, and then Shaxx going into Lightfall. I'm
Yeah.
not a fan of having to wait until like Christmas to get a Shaxx refresh, though. So like, hey, let's step it up. At least give Shaxx a vendor refresh when you do Zavala or Saint. Whichever one doesn't get it, whichever two don't get it next season, have to absolutely get it the season after. And I know like this takes a lot of people to implement. There's obviously still some stuff that needs to be fixed with Drifter. I don't know
Yeah.
if the whole approach of well it has to be in the loot pool for a full season before, that's fine and dandy for Vanguard and Crucible, but for Gambit it's like, man, the drop rates are already so bad in this. The matches take so long. Just let me buy those outright. You let me do it with Saint,
Yeah.
like
And that's why I as much as I hate to say it, we talked about it before, and I honestly think they should just vault Gambit for a while and
yep,
focus on
yep,
figuring out what to do with strikes and fueling PvP because it doesn't matter what player you are, PvP is something that has kept Destiny alive through its darkest of times.
yep.
you know?
I would rather have a double down on the Vanguard Ops playlist and on PvP. And then I mean, you take the very little resources you're clearly spending on Gambit at this point and move whoever is on the Gambit team to PvP.
Yeah.
Get PvP to a good point. PvE is there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seasons need some TLC, but not nearly as much as Crucible and Gambit clearly do.
Yeah. They
Raids are
they
there.
they all but
Dungeons are there.
they've all but said that they put PvP on ice so they could focus on Destiny overall, the storytelling, the seasons, the expansions, the sandbox, the
And I
game
think
as a whole, the RPG systems, and they've turned
I
that up to
I
11.
yeah, I will take that trade any day if it meant saving this franchise
Yeah.
over where I think, and I won't even say it was with the launch of Shadowkeep, but I think we all kind of at Shadowkeep kind of went, okay, I don't know if this is like the story was okay. It was fine. We had the pyramid
Yeah.
reveal. The first mission is awesome. I don't think the rest of the campaign really lived up to it.
No, no, not at all.
Nightmares were not the thing. I got him still beating this drum 2.5 years later. Champions fucking suck. Get them out of here. Um, but And then Vex Offensive was just, ooh, it was bad. Combine that with like the most unforgiving raid that Destiny's ever done in
And
Garden of
also,
Salvation.
why who's supposed to be the smartest person on the tower when Osiris still wasn't there? Or Ikora, why the fuck were you building a portal to the Vex domain on the tower? Like we have so
Right.
many moons and anyways.
I mean, like
Um
you go through, and then you go through Season of Dawn, and again, we were like, "Oh, the story for this is really cool." That was
yeah,
the team that
try
had worked. That was the Opulence team who had done this, and we were like, "Oh, this is
yeah.
cool. This is
Holy
awesome."
shit, we're literally saving
Yeah,
Saint 14. I'll
like
never forget when I
I can
woke.
excuse a really shitty event. Like Sundial wasn't that bad
No,
compared to other things we got that year, but you look at now and it's like, oh my god, we actually liked this at one point.
the main problem with Sundial, real quick, wasn't the
Yeah.
event itself. It was still in the older Destiny 2 era of you had to play an absurd amount of Sundial if you wanted good rolls on those weapons.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
That it's not that
E-
Sundial was bad, it was that the amount that you were required to play to engage with the grind there was made you hate it.
Well, you have that, and then you have after that at the end of Season of the Dawn, beginning of Season of the Worthy is when COVID hits. We all
Yep.
shift to work from home, and it didn't help that the absolute weakest season, and yes, it's worse than Curse of Osiris, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Season of the Worthy comes. The event is a fucking public event.
Yep.
The making it heroic was damn near impossible. You had to like just sit around and hope that 9 people came to your instance, set up LFGs, things like that. It was that bad. And on top of that, the story was bad. The story was really bad. It did set up things to come,
Yeah.
but it
The
was a
lore
very
was good,
the lore was
right?
good.
With Fellwinter and Rasputin, but
Yeah,
the in-game story was
it was bad. It was real
yeah.
bad, and combine that all with
And
a really
Trials.
yeah,
That was
God,
the Trials relaunch.
I
That's
forgot that was
why
the Trials relaunch.
yeah.
I was
And
living in Austin. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Luke Smith even said like, "Hey, if you want to be mad that season PvE wise was bad, that blame me because I pulled resources to relaunch Trials." And
A
I
lot
feel
of
like
resources. A
yeah,
lot.
and if Trials would have landed in a better spot, I think we would have been a lot kinder on that season, right?
Oh,
But
we absolutely
Trials
would have.
launched as a
It was the
mess.
combination of everything. For a lot of us, that was I think that and Arrivals was probably the most Destiny that a lot of us had played up to that point because we were stuck
Yeah.
at home.
Yep.
And then we've always talked. Arrivals was the turning point. The reveal of Beyond Light, and that we didn't know about Arrivals until the day that Beyond Light got revealed, and that, oh my God, the pyramids are here. Savathun is here. It's happening. It's all happening.
Yep.
And that was really the turning point for PVE and for the storytelling team. But even that, like, it took a while to build up. Like, Hunt was really bad in game, but the lore was amazing. The special
Yeah, it was
missions
so
were amazing.
super cool to finally get caught up with Crow and all that,
Yeah,
and we were
yeah.
all still grinding on our stasis stuff and figuring all that out,
But
and
now,
the raid was great, right?
yeah, like now we've hit a point where, I mean, I think obviously Hunt notwithstanding, and I still that's not even like in my top 3 worst things that they've ever done in this game
Yeah,
this season. Um, I think even with that being underwhelming, the story team's just been knocking it out of the park since Arrivals happened for
yeah,
2 years now. They've been just killing it. Every season
yeah,
they've been killing it. The lore's been there. I want that kind of love for the Crucible now. It's time. It's time to give it to us. And they know it. Like they know what we want. They outlined last year what it was going to be like, and I really hope that the timeline might have gotten sped up. I believe God, who was it? One of the UI designers was saying that Destiny team has more than doubled. It had doubled during the first year of the pandemic, and it's doubled again now. The amount of people working just on this game, not on Matter
yeah.
or
Not on
on any
Matter
other
and the
IP,
other game that they're working on. Yeah.
but that they have like triple the amount of people they had working on Destiny 2
Can
at the time that Shadowkeep came out.
can you imagine a world where on top of everything we get every season, we got 1 to 2 new Crucible maps, that we got a couple new game modes every
I
season?
would like a
You know,
world in which, and this is me dreaming, but in an ideal world, for me it would be maybe one new map and one unvaulted map a season,
yeah.
but you
And even
rotate out 2 older maps in exchange.
yeah. And even for the sake of experimentation, what if we got a new game mode every season? And if it sucks, they don't
I
bring it
think
back,
so. I
you
think a new
know?
game mode every season is probably unreasonable. I think one every other season would be great. I would specifically say give them to us in seasons 2 and 4 of an expansion. So
Yeah,
that way, okay, when you're launching the expansion, you have that, you have the season that goes with it. Let's give you some reprise maps, or let's give you maybe two new maps and a reprise map. And then after that, we go to the 1-1 system. And oh, hey, here's because like Rift is coming back some point this year. We know that. I would not be shocked if it was next season at this
yeah.
point.
And
People
you've
want
you've
Rift
turned me
back.
down.
I
You
don't think you want Rift back. I remember Rift. I don't think
I
you
do.
guys want this.
I do.
I don't think
Josh,
y'all
I
want
do.
this as bad as you think you do.
I want
But
that. I want a payload mode. I want a proper ranked
I
playlist.
want
It
I want you to get rid. So I'll take any mode you want to throw at me. In exchange, please take Team Scorched away forever. It's not fun. It's not engaging.
What?
If it was in a playlist with other modes, like a variety mode, I would be okay with that. I don't like it when my choices for the week are that, comp, or control. I do not like it when that's my choice. It's like, well, of course we're all gonna go hang out in control. Like I play Scorched for a day a season, and that is to get my challenge done. If you really want to give me a permanent mode, I kind of echo some of the PvP community on this. I don't know if it needs to be the permanent mode, but maybe have your rotational mode be like kind of your fun, your rifts, your
Hmm.
teams, your rift, your scorched.
Momentum
Bring back
control.
what was it? No, not momentum. Bring back showdown.
Hmm.
Is showdown the one I'm thinking of, where you had to defuse the bomb?
No, Showdown was the even more convoluted version of comp. Um, God, what was that mode called? I know what you're talking about. Controlled demolition or
Yeah, I don't remember what it was
the
called,
bomb
but
defusal.
yeah,
Yeah.
put the bomb defusal mode in there and put the one where you get the crests.
Yeah.
Put that put
Supremacy. Supremacy.
supremacy. Put
That was the
those,
Gushers mode. Yeah.
yeah, make fruit gushers. Make that your ones that you rotate through, like each one comes up 3 times in a season. And then maybe and I know we're risking splitting the population here, but make a separate one of control, clash, and momentum that is always up.
Yep. And we
Um,
need I really think they tried it in Destiny 1 and I felt like they got burnt on it and never came back to it and I think that was a huge mistake. Destiny needs a big, dumb, chaotic big team battle. They need to bring that Halo magic back with vehicles and heavy
yeah,
weapons and they need to revisit combined arms.
I
They
think that I
really
don't
do.
think that I think combined arms, if it gets revisited, will get revisited when we're off of last gen. Um, I think honestly, move the Gambit team to doing combined arms. If you want me to
Right?
be completely honest.
And you don't even need to make whole new maps. Just take chunks of the damn open world
I
sections.
mean, they
You
literally
know?
took the combined arms map from D1 and made it the starting zone for the moon in Shadowkeep.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Give me the swamp area in the throne world. Give me a chunk of Europa. Make Crucible maps out of what was the season of the Splicer event?
Um, yeah, expunge,
Expunge.
overrides, and
Give me a
expunge. Yeah,
map out of Expunge and Override. Like it just needs to be fed.
yeah.
I really think we're finally okay in a place where the sandbox is
Give
balanced.
me
There's
one
always been,
inside of a fucking pyramid.
yeah, yeah. You know, give me one we were talking about Sundial. Give me another Mercury map during the day out in the sun. There's so many
Yeah,
amazing spaces that they've made over the
there's so
years
many
in
things you
Destiny.
could do here, and I mean, when we talk about injecting content, I think that's the place we got to go now. I think there's more than enough PVE content, especially with the commitment to having a raid or a dungeon every single season now.
Which is insane.
That's insane. But it's clear that most of their hiring spree went to that, went to the campaign, went to crafting and rewards. But while we're broaching the subject of crafting and rewards, let's go ahead and get into our main topic tonight.
Ooh, baby.
We've already been talking for a little over an hour, so I really want to get to this. We executive decision. We are going to punt Lore Corner for this week, guys. We're going to punt it the next week because I really want to give us enough time to go through this. Um, so we heard about changes to crafting and Corey and I talked about it on the last episode on episode 85. Um, Obviously, it's a system that they tried to make really convoluted. They pretty much succeeded, but they also failed at the same time. And thank God they're just getting rid of all of it. You just have to have neutral element to craft after this season is over. Thank God. I will probably hold off on a lot of crafting until the summer at that point, knowing that it's about to get a lot simpler for me. John, I asked you when I asked you to come on, I asked you to assemble a list of your 5 favorite weapons from this expansion, and I gave you some stipulations you had to abide by. I said they had to be from the Throne World, they had to be World Drops, or they had to come from playlist activities. They could not be from the Raid or from Season of the Risen. Season of the Risen, because Corey and I are going to talk about those probably as long as next week's not like some massive life-changing twab that like reveals Arc 3.0 or something. We will discuss Season of the Risen weapons. And if you want to really hear our thoughts about all the raid weapons and us gushing about them, there is a whole raid episode for you to go listen to from a few weeks ago. We
And
spent
I
literally
will
45 minutes on weapons.
I will air a little bit of grievance here. Totally understand why, but to the listeners, the seasonal weapons are lit. Almost all of them. They're really good.
I think
But
this
that's a
this
different episode.
is for me. This is I will say this really quickly because I want to I want to rank the seasonal suites at the end of this year. I want to get through a couple more seasons. We have like 8 of them to rank, but this is like neck and neck with Splicer for the best overall suite that we've gotten.
Yeah, and Dawn. Dawn had a great suite of weapons.
Dawn was good, but I think, and I mean, this is always going to be the case, right? Like, as new perks are introduced, I think that it becomes harder for the older weapons to keep up. Now, with crafting and different kinds of pursuits and things like that. But I will always love Dawn for giving me Vorpal Weapon. Which has been just, I think, probably like the most valuable perk they've introduced in the last 3 years. But that's a whole nother episode.
Yep,
that's a whole nother episode.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and jump into these. So, John, we're going to talk about one weapon right here before we start getting into our top 5s, because both of us were going to put it on our list. So I wanted to remove it. I wanted to take 5 minutes to talk about the glaive. I wanted to talk about the Enigma really quickly. I have become a convert to the glaive. I love it, especially that I've been upgrading mine. I have the enhanced impulse amplifier and enhanced thresh on mine. Running that with suppressing glaive is like pretty much what was single-handedly carrying me through Master Vox Obscura when I was running it.
Yep.
As a hunter, being able to go invisible after every hit was amazing.
R.I.P. that they nerfed that. But you've got to protect the integrity of Grandmasters, Josh.
God, fucking damn Grandmasters.
Anyways,
Enigma. John, the people have heard my thoughts on the glaive. I want to get yours because you have been the biggest proponent of the glaive that I've talked to so far.
I want to start by getting my couple of grievances out of the way with the glaive.
Give me the veggies before you get to the dessert.
Exactly. I don't like that there's a huge disconnect with the perk pool and general mod and or subclass synergies in general with the melee attack of the glaive. I get that it's free because it doesn't use any ammo. But it bothers me that things like Rampage or Swashbuckler or Frenzy, nothing boosts the damage of the actual melee attack itself. And the melee attack itself doesn't feed into things that require melee kills, right? So, like, I wish it was one way or the other. Either these perks make the melee do more damage, or the base melee that doesn't ever get increased in damage feeds into melee synergies. It bothers me that neither of those work. That is my biggest problem with the glaive.
Yeah, I think my biggest issue with the glaive is it's so inconsistent, right? Like there will be times where I'll do like a lunge with the glaive, and then like the enemy will be sitting right next to me. I'm literally mashing right bumper, and it's not. I'm swinging at fucking air. I don't know what I'm going after, but it's not working. conversely, I think that shooting things with the glaive, like if you, I don't know if anybody's ever tried shooting a fucking shrieker with it. It closes up and you can't damage it for like 30 seconds. And in a time-consuming activity like a grandmaster or trying to do the psyops in under 11 minutes, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, this is ridiculous. I should not be punished for that, and that really bothers me. I've had to stand around because I've got, teammates that just keep shooting it with the glaive, and it's like, no, hang on, I got to get a rocket off before you do this because you're gonna cause it to shut otherwise.
Yeah.
And it's with that very specific enemy, but this is a hive expansion. There's so many shriekers in everything. They're everywhere. But I think the other thing to note about the glaives, and I mentioned this last episode when Corey and I talked about exotic quests and underwhelming exotics. The exotic glaives
Ugh.
fucking suck. They suck. They're terrible.
Yep.
They're absolutely abysmal. And let me tell you something: if you're not using Enigma or Lubar's Ruin, you should not be using a glaive. If you're using one of those exotic ones, Godspeed.
Josh, you know how hard I hunt down new weapons? I didn't craft the Titan exotic glaive until this week. That's how little I care about it.
I only did it to get a power boost. Because when you get an exotic to drop, it power boosts you, and it was like, oh, I was still caught up in like, oh, it's the first couple weeks of the expansion, I can finally do this, I gotta do it. And yeah, man, let me tell you something. Like completely not entirely unrelated, but I do like that the patterns for the exotic glaives drop in Wellspring after you get your first one.
Yeah.
I will note that I got the exotic Titan glaive blueprint before getting my third red border sniper. That is how bad the drop rates are in the Wellspring right now. It's so bad. But continue. Do you have any other thoughts on the Enigma for us?
Yes. So those are my complaints. Those are my grievances. And if anything, Bungie has proven over the last 2 years is that we will hopefully not have to wait a year and a half for them to touch on these things, right? They have been really proactive about getting on top of stuff like this.
Yeah.
Now, onto why I had 2,000 kills on my glaive in the first 2 weeks and why I went through the entire legendary campaign with that thing on me. It feels so fun. It's what I wanted swords to be. I've always loved swords, even before Shadowkeep when they got buffed and actually were made useful. I love the idea of wading into Destiny's crazy sandbox with all of my crazy light abilities and wielding a melee weapon. And it's finally giving me that. And it is so much fun. It's not always the most optimal move. Even in the Crucible, it's dumb to bring a glaive into the Crucible, but those few moments where 3 people chase me into a corner and I beat their ass with a stick, it feels so cool. I love it. I love the glaive, and I can't wait for them to find that right sweet spot of where a glaive should be. And I'm very excited to see what glaives we get in the future. And a stasis glaive would do I'm waiting for a stasis glaive just so I can have that in the kinetic slot. And, just for build crafting purposes, having one in the top slot would be awesome.
It would be really cool. I would really like that. Now, my final question for you about glaives. Since this is a fully craftable weapon, what are you running on your glaive right now?
I am running Impulse Amplifier Frenzy.
Okay. I'm doing Thresh, the upgraded Thresh and upgraded Impulse for myself.
Yeah, both of mine are enhanced.
Yeah.
That's another small, really fast side tangent. I think that the way that the projectile feels with Impulse Amplifier should be the base.
100%. 100%.
Projectile.
I've run that in Legend Lost sectors, and that's like I've pretty much gone through just using the glaive and Gallarhorn at this point.
Yeah.
I slap on a kinetic SMG, and that's about it.
I got Lebray's Ruin. I got the Raid glaive, which looks amazing and is awesome. I don't use it a lot of the time over Enigma just because it doesn't have Impulse Amplifier. And the projectile feels so bad. I get that they didn't want it to break PvP, but even with the Impulse Amplifier, it's a joke in PvP. Like I said, it's a meme.
Oh, absolutely. It's a gigantic meme.
Yeah. So I feel like if they brought that up to the base speed, increased impulse amplifier a little bit on it to make it that special thing, if that's what you want to do, I think they'd be in a good place if they can figure out how to maybe give us a little more leeway on how that ties into melee synergies. If they're not going to let us triple our damage with Rampage, for example, on the free melee hits. But overall, I love what it brings to the table. I love how it changes, and it just feels like the most Titan thing ever to just be not giving a fuck, wading into a crew with a long stick with a pointy thing at the end, just stabbing.
Yeah,
Very sophisticated takes from A1 Johnny here on this podcast.
stab them with the pointy end. Just Titan things. Just Titan things. Okay, so moving into our 5 weapons that we each brought to the table, we're gonna. I don't want to like blow through this, but I also don't want to like take forever on this, since we
Yeah.
both have 5 weapons to get through. John, what's your first weapon?
My first weapon is a world drop, the Amalon Solar Pulse Rifle,
Love it.
the
Love it.
Ogma PR6.
Yeah.
It just feels good. It has great base stats, but the reason that it's number one on my list is it has the very rare combination of both Demolitionist and Wellspring. And as we move into this meta where ability uptime is kind of king, that's what you're setting your goal on, especially in
Mhm.
PvE. The Demolitionist Wellspring combo is insane. I mean, like, if you think you're spamming abilities before, mainline this thing, you'll never be without grenade energy, which will give you back your melee energy, which will give you back your class ability energy. It's just it's an enabler unlike we've seen on anything in the game, especially on a primary weapon.
Yeah, it's a great one. It's a 450, right?
Let me see. Yeah, I believe it's an adaptive frame.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I really like this. I for other reasons, I have not been running this one nearly as much. I've been running 2 other pulse rifles a lot
Yeah.
more. Which, if you
Sadly,
know
it's not
me,
Void, so I haven't used it
oh
as
my
much
god,
either.
if it was
You
void,
know,
I honestly I probably wouldn't be taking this thing off if it was
and
void.
yeah, it's a 450. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, it's a great gun though. I really like it. I've been running some other stuff in my energy slot. The first weapon I'm going to bring to the table this week is going to be it's going to be a energy weapon as well. I am bringing the new Trials Scout Rifle, Aisha's Embrace.
ooh,
Uh,
baby, give it to
is
me.
the one that I'm bringing to the table.
It barely didn't make my list, just barely. It's number
This
6,
one
maybe
is
5.5.
yeah. I man, this is just. Whew, Ooh, that's so good. This thing is a 260, so you've got the speed of Servant Leader, of Randy's Throwing Knife, of Trusty. Um, it comes with that crispy Trials trait on it. You've got 2 of them. You've got Alacrity, which is increased reload stability, aim assist, and range when you are the last fire team member or running solo, or you can put on One Quiet Moment, which is increased reload speed when out of combat. The role that I have been rocking on this is Vorpal, Stats for All, and Ricochet rounds. Um,
That's solid.
this was my first Witch Queen drop. I saved
Oh
a
yeah,
couple
because you
trials
saved a
incurs.
trials in Graham. Yeah,
I saved a few of them. I have loved this thing since I got it. I used it for quite a bit of the legendary campaign, even, and I've definitely I've gotten other roles of it, but that one is the one I just keep coming back to. I see no reason for that not to be my main one going forward. And I was like, oh well, this is my first drop. Like, I don't even know if I'm going to bother grinding out for another one of these this season. I really Stats for All is one of my new favorite perks.
it's so
That is
good.
I like it less on a scout. Unless I'm like, if
But
I'm in a room of like Thrall or Scions, I'll pop 3 headshots real fast and I can just
yeah,
jump into other
I,
things.
I think it's a lot more forgiving on a full auto 260 scout, you know, versus a 150 or something that's much more slow firing. It's way easier to spam that into a crowd and get one for all active.
Yeah, this is great, and it's I mean it's one of the preferred loadouts of the gun on dim. So I will happily accept that I got it my first drop of the weapon. Um, John, hit me with your second weapon.
All right, coming in at number two, the only Throne World weapon on this list, surprisingly, Father's Sin, the
Yes,
sniper rifle.
that's on my list as well.
Yeah,
Let's
this
have a
thing,
conversation about Father Sims real fast. Yeah.
yeah, it's and we'll. I hope we have time to touch on crafting a little bit later, but that's also a big part of the reason why this gun is so high up there.
Yep.
A craftable sniper rifle is a godsend. As someone who is a not top tier in PvP and B likes to snipe in PvP, getting a god rolled sniper rifle, and by god rolled I don't mean just getting the two perks you want. I mean the magazine, the sights, the masterwork to really make it that consistent thing in PvP.
Hmm.
This thing is awesome. It's lightweight, so you got to land your headshots. But this thing can roll with under pressure, which is very rare on a sniper rifle. Getting the not only the bonus stability, which is normally why people pay attention to it with auto rifles and fusions, right? But it's a bonus in accuracy. It reduces that accuracy cone when you have a low magazine, i.e., when you load into a crucible match with only 2 rounds in the mag, right?
Yep. I took this
And
into momentum the other day, actually. Yeah.
yep. And in the right column, you can get opening shot. So under pressure opening shot, this thing is almost hitting headshots for you.
So
Uh,
let me ask you that. So you also have the psycho hack
yep.
perk on this. The trait sustained damage lowers the target's damage output for a short duration. I will be keeping one of these in my back pocket for boss DPS down the line.
Yeah. Yeah. For
Purely because
PvE, you got that triple tap focus
yeah.
fire roll, and it's yeah.
So what is the role that you're? I have not crafted one of these yet. I much to my chagrin earlier noted that I have yet to get a third red border on this, so I'm very upset. What is the role that you are currently running with?
I am still upgrading it. I'm working towards that
Okay.
under pressure opening shot for PvP. And Myco snapshot sights. That's the tried and true. That's what any Crucible sweat would tell you on a PvP sniper. This is one of the few craftable weapons I'm probably going to level up 2 versions of
Yep,
because, like I
I agree.
said, like you mentioned, Psycho Hack. But triple tap focus fire is a really good PvP or PvE boss damage combo, and it's void, so you can
Um,
take advantage of Font of Might and volatile
yeah,
rounds.
it's not the greatest role that I'm using, but the one that I've been using is opening shot lead from gold. Um,
Okay.
I've been enjoying that. It's not. I mean, for me, lead from gold, you want to pair with something like Vorpal, so you're constantly dumping
hmm
in that high quality damage to a stronger target.
And it
Um,
really is nice and stuff like Nightfall as you feel a little
yeah,
freer to spam your energy ammo when you have lead from gold. So that's yeah,
yeah.
yeah. You definitely want to get
I
a
like the
damage.
free. I like the freedom that it affords you a bit more. Um, John, go ahead and hit me with your third one. So we're going to go ahead and count that as two for both of us because that was on my list as well.
Okay. Um, Can I cheat because I can't decide which of the new Iron Banner weapons I want to put in my number 3 slot?
Sure.
Okay, the hand cannon and the sword are great. Aesthetically, they look amazing. They both have great perk pools. The Iron Banner sword, one looks like a lightsaber, and two is cooler falling guillotine now with volatile rounds and chain reaction. And the hand cannon is just 180 hand cannons normally don't really fall into the meta anywhere. I was dueling your adept palindromes and your dire promises and your normal crucible fare with a bad roll on a 180 hand cannon. I love this hand cannon, and I do love the Iron Banner perk, the skulking
If it
wolf.
tells you anything, I really like this hand cannon. I'm not a hand cannon guy, so I think Frontier's Cry it's a great one.
Yeah,
I've actually been enjoying using it in Crucible.
my only issue with it is that All of the other Crucible guns have 1 to 2, Foundry perks. It either has a Foundry perk and the Crucible perk, or, like, the Trials weapons have Alacrity or One Quiet Moment. Kinda bothers me that these Iron Banner weapons don't have another option to select, because as good as that Skulking Wolf perk is, it's literally only active in one PvP mode that's only up once a month. Why does it not also have the other Crucible perk like they said it should? But anyways, those are my number 3. The new Iron Banner weapons are awesome.
Uh, do you have a? I mean, obviously, better falling guillotine. We kind of know what to go with them there. Do you have a Frontier's Cry roll you've been enjoying?
Yes, here, let me pull up my roles. I've been playing with a couple different roles,
I
for
I'm gonna go ahead and share mine real fast.
yeah,
I have Iron Reach and Adaptive Munitions on mine.
okay.
I've been enjoying it. So Iron Reach, of course, massively improves the range at the cost of your stability. So I don't think you really want that trade off on hand cannon necessarily. But my range is 75, so
Yeah.
I did something right here. Um, and then, of course, you have that Skulking Wolf trait on it. During hunts, final blows with this weapon grant enhanced radar and remove you from the opposing radar. I really enjoyed this when I was using it in Iron Banner last time. I may bust it out for the next Iron Banner. But what have you been using, John?
I've been running one of the first drops I got was Rapid Hit.
Okay, already like it.
Eye of the Storm, I think, is a perk that a lot of people kind of sleep on, especially in PvP. Um, so Eye of the Storm, when you get into red health, you get a sudden boost to stability, accuracy, and oh god, what do they call it? It's not auto targets. It's uh oh come on, what am I thinking, Josh? The aim assist. You get a big boost to aim assist when your
Yes,
health is in
yes.
red is in the red. So when you think about when you're dueling someone, and especially when you're going up against other meta hand cannons, you get 2 or 3 shots off on them. They get you into red, and then it just suddenly just snaps right to their head and finishes off. So that combined with rapid hit makes it so consistent to win duels against arguably better hand cannons. And it has pulled my ass out of the fire in a lot of 1v1s or even 1v2s that I've played with it. I think ultimately, if I wanted to press my skill a little more, I would go for rapid hit kill clip, or rapid hit adagio. Adagio sounds weird, but after you get that first kill, suddenly this thing starts 3 tapping like a 140, but shoots as fast as a 150. So there's a couple different roles that I'm still trying to play around with. I'm waiting for Iron Banner to roll back around, so I can play with a few more roles on this thing.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's just a good solid option in an archetype of hand cannons that is normally rightfully looked over.
Woo! All right. I'm gonna move on to my third one now. I gotta fuck. I got. Of course, the screen is deciding it wants to freeze up on me. I am bringing our first auto rifle to the table tonight. I'm bringing Duty Bound.
Ooh,
Now, hear me out.
okay, okay.
600s are not in a great spot right now. Okay, 600s have been lagging for a little while. Obviously, 720s have kind of stolen the show. When you look at what goes in that kinetic slot, everybody's in love with crate. I have yet to get a crate roll I really, really love. Um, and I like Herod C, which may sound kind of funny for some of you. I spent so much of Season of the Lost just bagging on Chrysilo Mello, or however you
Hmm.
pronounce it. I spent so much time bagging on that, being like, this is a piece of shit gun. Don't ever use this gun. And I have used Herod C a lot more than I care to admit. Duty Bound, though, is I'm not a big sniper guy, so Silicone Nermona doesn't really do a whole lot for me right now. I have the snipers I have. I enjoy using them. Nothing's unseating my Adept Uzum if I need to use anything. Uh, but Duty Bound is the other Nightfall weapon this season. I have this sucker rocking with One for All and Zen Moment. And Let me tell you something. I've got a 76 in handling, 64 in reload speed, and 73 in aim assist. This thing is a fucking monster. I've been taking it into Crucible a lot, as like with a lot of things that are not, three bang hand cannons. As long as you get the drop on somebody, you can probably kill them with it.
Yeah,
Uh, this thing is great. I really like it, and it of course has that Nightfall perk on it,
which
stunning
is amazing.
recovery. Yeah, you could swap between Stunning Recovery or Vanguard Vindication. So Stunning Recovery is stunning the champion, partially refills magazine, triggers health regen, and improves recovery for a short duration. Um, I'm absolutely, when they bring Hung Jury back into the rotation eventually, I want to go get a new Hung Jury with this on it. But Vanguard Vindication. Final blows with this weapon grant a small amount of health. I like just standing in hallways and firing straight down them with this weapon because
Yeah.
I just keep
Can you
regen.
imagine if you got that with Unrelenting?
I also have tactical mag on this, which I really like tactical mag on a lot of my guns.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, duty bound, great. I think it's a great kinetic option. I still find myself using Chroma Rush in my kinetic slot a lot if I'm running an auto rifle in there. Um, but it's absolutely not the worst. It's just there's so much in the kinetic slot this season that I like, that it's kind of hard for me to use it all the time, but when I get to use duty bound, which is usually in PvP, I'm really enjoying it. And I don't think that's where it was intended to be used at, but that's where I've been using it at. People are not expecting to be killed by that in momentum control. Let me tell you something. They
yeah.
are
Not a lot of 600s that aren't named Summoner that you see in the PvP in the current meta.
no, but I've always been a guy who plays off meta, and I really, really, really like this one. So, number 4, John.
All right, it's funny that you bring up an auto rifle because wouldn't you know it, my number 4 is Crate.
God damn it.
I super fast aside, just the amount of stasis weapons in general this season is an amazing addition to the stasis class. Whether you're a warlock running the Rubes Battle Harmony or just trying to take advantage of headstone on things that aren't two hand cannons and a sidearm, which were the only stasis weapons we got last season when they introduced them. The plethora of options available to you is awesome, but Crate specifically being a 720 with that Vice Stinger perk is awesome. And I'm rocking Subsistence Headstone, and it feels good enough that even when I'm not playing Stasis, I still like this in my auto slot. I honestly haven't touched Chroma Rush this season because of this gun.
I would like to get this gun with. I think the one that would finally get me to use this would be Steady Hands Headstone. I think that would
Mm,
be the one that would finally get me on the crate train, so to speak. I do have one sitting in my inventory that I will try out. It's Focused Fury Subsistence,
okay.
with armor piercing, so I want to give that one a shot. See if that finally converts me on over. Um, but wouldn't you know it, my fourth weapon is also a stasis weapon. Ladies and gentlemen, you all knew this was
It,
coming. If you know anything about me at all, you knew this weapon was coming. Syncopation 53.
there's the pulse.
Here it is.
There's the
Here's
pulse.
the pulse. I only had to go to my third favorite pulse in the expansion to be able to talk about one. But the pulse has got so much love this
Oh
expansion
yeah,
from
yeah.
Bungie. Insidious, Peace of Mind, and Syncopation are all such good options for different scenarios. Pulses in general just got so much love. I've been running Outbreak more than anything, I think, but Syncopation. Let's talk about this sucker for a minute. This is a 390. So it's pretty up there in terms of its speed. It's a little bit above what Messenger is. Messenger is a 340. And it is a little bit, if I'm remembering correctly, above my beloved Blast Furnace, um, which was I just lost my complete train of thought. Blast Furnace, I believe, was around. It might have been 390. I don't think, or at most it was 450. But it was right in that same kind of range, right?
Blast Furnace was the same frame as the new raid one. That was one of the few. There have only been 3 4 burst pulse
Okay,
rifles.
so it was a 450. It was a 450 then. It was a 450.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Um, this is kind of the healthy medium for me between those two. Two of my favorite guns ever in this game have been Messenger and Blast Furnace. This is kind of poised to take the spot away from them in terms of a kinetic pulse that I really like. It is a stasis weapon, of course. I keep playing with rolls that I get to drop on this. I have not actually crafted one yet because I just like the rolls that I've been getting so much. Um, so I've been running two different ones because I've been running some experiments on which one I like more. And one of them is Headstone Compulsive Reloader, which is great for people like me who just can't help but jamming X
Who
every 5 seconds.
actually compulsively reload. Yep.
Yeah. And the one I've been using more recently though is Vorpal Outlaw, along with the Alloy magazine and the Chambered Compensator. Um, in my what you call it? It comes with the Suro Synergy trait as well, which is reloading, grants bonus handling, and reduces incoming flinch for a short time. I think this is just a great all around gun. I enjoy it with Headstone. I have run it with Headstone quite a bit. Um, and I think if I could get Headstone Outlaw, that would probably be my
Oh,
ideal
that's the
role.
yeah, absolutely.
I think when I can craft like that will probably be the role that I go for. Um, but this is just a great all around gun. I have great success with it in high end PVE, in strikes, in Legend Psyops, in PvP. I've been running around in momentum with it all week. I've been running around with it in just about everything. This combined with Renewal Grasps, I've really been enjoying it. Was running it in Gambit earlier, freezing and shattering everything in sight. When you pair this with the Stasis class, especially Hunter Stasis, it just feels like a dream. This is how I want weapon synergy to work going forward. Especially something that really plays to my just plays to my strengths, and it's got that range master work on it too, which I really really like. So I mean, 72 instability, 66 aim assist. I'm above 45 in every single category except for impact. My impact is a 30. Um, you just really like you're like wow, this is a great all around. This is a good starter pulse, I think, for a lot of people. This is certainly, in my opinion, it's one of the better stasis weapons we've gotten. It's really like this crate and probably Peace Bond that I think are like the three standout legendary stasis weapons right now.
Yeah.
And no disrespect to what's it called, to Deliverance, but I think these three outclass that one a lot. And then of course, you'd have to look at an exotic to find something that I think outclasses these three with Aegir Scepter.
And
But
the only one I think I would throw in contention is the Gambit auto rifle. It's also a 600.
that's true. Herod C is it's the 360 auto rifle. It is stasis. I do really like that one. But I think that one is one of the ones, especially since you can't craft it, it's so
Mm.
infuriating to try out new rolls on.
Yeah, who's gonna grind Gambit for it? Unless you get
Right.
lucky and just get a good roll on it right
I'm
out
gonna
of the
wait till
gate.
next season and dump 10 Ingrams into it. I'm very fortunate that I actually got a good roll on my Herod C right away. I know this isn't the gun we're talking about, but multi kill and 4 times the charm on a
Mm.
360 is pretty fucking great. I actually really like it. Um, Invader Tracker doesn't do anything for me on this, so I run the Hake Breach, which is the
Yeah.
increased damage against vehicles, turrets,
The
barricades,
the the
stasis.
the I hate Titans perk. Yeah, it's neat.
It's the I Hate Titans perk along with armor piercing rounds.
Yep. Yep.
I have armor piercing or high caliber that you can pull out of that, so it's been pretty great. I think there's a healthy amount of stasis weapons now, and not just like the couple we got last season, where I
Yeah.
think most of us were like, okay.
You could tell they were very
Like
hesitant after how hot Stasis
Peace
landed, pun
Bond, yeah,
intended.
Peace Bond with
You know.
Headstone was awesome. Vulpeka with
Yeah.
Headstone was awesome. I like that I don't have to rely on Headstone for this stasis weapon to be effective this time.
No, it's still good, but
It's a very good one. I think this is the gun that kind of proves you don't have to have Headstone for a stasis gun to be good. This is very good even without it. I think Headstone is obviously like the desired perk, But like I said, I'm running Vorpal Outlaw. I've also had a Moving Target Outlaw on this that I've liked a lot. Or excuse me, Moving Target Frenzy. But like I've had those on pulses before. This is a truly like these are truly different roles. Rangefinder Zen Moment. I do have a Headstone Moving Target hanging out in my vault. This is one of those ones I encourage you to play with if you like, especially basic pulses, and you want a gun that's going to work really really well with the stasis subclass. I think this is
Yep.
a great example of a gun that does that. So
And
hit
in pairing the element of your gun to your subclass is increasingly becoming more important. So the more
Oh god, I
solid
can't wait
options.
to see if they rework Arc Staff. I may become an Arc main because I don't want to take off Sweet Sorrow. Hit me with your final weapon, John.
All right, now Josh, you're gonna get mad at me because I'm double cheating. I am double cheating for my fifth pick here. I'm double cheating because one, this is not a new weapon, and two, this is not even a role that I have. And you can go ahead and take me to court.
Is it the new Adept Palindrome?
No, Shiora's Wrath.
God damn it.
Shiora's
I
Wrath
know exactly which role you're gonna bring up. You're bringing up the one the cool guy was talking about. And we were like,
with
oh my
golden
god,
with golden
Golden
tricorn
Tricorn.
is
God damn.
absolutely insane. I don't even need to have it in my hands. I've did the math. Golden tricorn. This is the only primary weapon with golden tricorn right now.
So break down Golden Tricorn for those who might not know. This is a newer perk. This was a
Yes,
30th
this was
anniversary perk.
introduced
Break
to
it
us
down
in
for me.
the 30th anniversary. And so far, it's only ran on heavy and energy weapons, but Golden Tricorn, so final blows with this weapon grant bonus damage. While this buff is active, grenade or melee kills of the same damage type greatly increases its damage and duration. So on, say, a Void SMG that you can slap volatile rounds on and stack Font of Might on, you get one kill with the SMG. You then maybe get a kill with a Void melee or grenade, and then it goes up to a 50% damage bonus with an 8-second timer. And every kill you get with it refreshes that bonus. For context, Rampage is only at full stacks of Rampage, which only lasts 4 seconds, mind you. Times 3 Rampage is a 35% damage bonus. So for the mere feat of getting a void grenade kill in the current meta, you get 50% damage bonus, which you can keep refreshing over and over and over and over. I am going to be playing an absurd amount of trials to get this gun. This is my number one hunt now for the rest of the season, is getting a perpetual motion golden tricorn Shira's Wrath. I already have a quick draw kill clip that's going to be my PvP baby forever. But for PvE, relationship with Funnel Web over, and Josh, I'm almost surprised Funnel Web didn't make your list. This Shira's Wrath is the one.
So it's funny that you say that it hasn't made my list. For reference, I've also been using Shayuras a lot this season. Mine is not the new fancy one, but Kill Clip, Heating Up, and Flare to Magwell has done wonders for me.
Yeah,
It's been great, and I could switch over to the steady rounds also. I've really enjoyed that.
also the new Shiora's has the damn alacrity on it. So there's that also. But
Yeah, I'll probably
yep.
dump a lot in since I got goggles and everything else. So it's funny that you bring up Funnel Web. I got one more slot left to talk about, and I actually wrestled. I actually really wrestled with this one. If I wanted to put Funnel Web on the list or not. I debated between this. I debated between Likely Suspect, which I've really been enjoying as well.
Yes. We could have a whole episode on fusions. Honestly, the good, the bad, the ugly. If
we
you
could, we
wanted to,
could.
if there's a slow week, bring me back. We'll talk fusions.
I wanted to get an SMG in here somewhere. I think this expansion was really, really good for primary weapons, especially. And I don't feel bad at all that I haven't talked about a single heavy. 'Cause I don't think there's a heavy really worth talking about outside of the sword. Um, thought about Forensic Nightmare. Forensic Nightmare wasn't going to make it though. Not really a huge fan of it as a primary. I think as primary SMGs go, there are better options.
Yeah.
So let's talk Funnel Web for a second.
Let's talk funnel web.
Funnel Web comes in on my list at number 5, and I want to note this is the weapon I've used the least out of the weapons that are on my list. And I want to give a quick explanation for why that is. It's not that I don't like Funnel Web. It's I got really tired of people calling it New Recluse when I'm sorry, like if you're calling it New Recluse, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you never used Recluse at the height of its powers or saw it used at the height of its power. This is this is like the definition of we have Recluse at home, and this is what you actually have. I don't think that Funnel Web is bad at all. I want to be really clear. I don't think it's bad. I have Subsistence Frenzy on mine. Of course, I've got I've got Small Bore. I've got Flared Magwell. I've got basically everything. It is great. If you pair this with volatile rounds, this is great. This is a great weapon. I took it into the raid on day 1. I was
Yep.
very happy to. I used it pretty extensively in the first and third encounters. However, I think so much of my opinion on this gun is based on how much I enjoy volatile rounds and how much I enjoy those working in sync with my Void 3.0 class, that I feel like this community is once again setting themselves up for disappointment once volatile rounds is no longer part of the artifact mods. They're going to go, what the fuck? All of a sudden, my funnel web's not as good. And it's like, no, it's just because you had an insanely optimized build and now you don't have that. I think that this is a good gun. I get leery of praising guns that everybody else is, especially the roles everybody else is, because not because I think that they're meta defining and like I've made it very clear. I like playing against the meta. In PvP especially, I am not a meta player. You can ask John. I do not optimize my loadouts in PvP. I rarely do it in anything other than a boss fight or a grandmaster in PvE content.
Dear listeners, I had to guilt and beat this man into submission to masterwork a set of armor when we went into trials for the first time together, and my man's stats were in the 4, 5s, and 6s across the board.
Yep. This is how much I really truly used to not like playing with my armor. And I'm the same way with weapons. Weapons, I am a firm believer that you find something that you really really like using and you quadruple down on it. If you like using it and you're good with it in PvP or PvE, that's fine. Like unless you are doing like a master activity or trials, it probably will not affect you too much. This is one of those guns that I'm actually kind of glad I've seen the usage decrease a lot in PvP over the past couple of weeks. It's kind of like everybody kind of started hitting the raid and was like, oh shit, the raid SMG is amazing. Like this is a really like if you want to talk what I think the best SMG in the game is right now, it's that one. It's craftable, all that stuff.
Pull me off the bench, coach. Pull me off the bench to talk about that raid SMG.
We're not talking about the raid SMG. Funnel. There was a whole episode about it. Funnel web is at its core. It is a very good weapon. I have the problem with this that I had with a web like Cartesian coordinate, where it almost felt essential for certain activities last year. Recluse, and I'm having horrible flashbacks to Mountaintop Recluse. People saying like, oh, well, you need to run these and a spike grenade launcher to do optimal damage and crowd control and all this and that. And I'm having really bad flashbacks to that right now. I think that definitely influences why I'm hesitant to put this on any sort of list to recommend to people. But you'd be nuts not to. It's simply put, it's one of the best weapons in the game. I've just found other things in that energy slot I'm enjoying using more.
Yeah.
Namely Sweet Sorrow and Insidious are the two that I've been using a lot more. um,
And the glaive,
and the
and
glaive.
dead messenger, and I feel like that's what keeps it from
Yeah.
being some overbearing. Is unlike when we had recluse, we have so many competitive things in
Yeah.
that slot. You know,
It's great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm looking at my stats. I've got 60 in range. I've got a 68 in handling and a 60 in reload. Like Jesus Christ, you really cannot ask for much better. I've got a counterbalance stock slapped on it to help bring that up. You really cannot ask for a lot more on this. It's a reload masterwork. Like this guy, it's fucking nutty. Like I can take it in. I've gone in and gotten 5, 10 kill streaks easily with this gun in Crucible,
yep.
and I
And
enjoy it.
honestly, I think Viced has the best foundry perk for PVE. It,
It
hot
does.
take here.
No,
Yeah,
no, I don't even think that's that much of a take. I absolutely think it is, and I mean, especially when you've got frenzy subsistence with the vice trait on it. That's
yep,
fucking wild. I really, 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 I like it a lot, and I mean, there's a reason why, like I said, like why I switched to it for first and third encounters and Valor of the Disciple. I use it in the opening. The only things I don't use it on, caretaker because I'm caretaker and boss because I'm on divinity. Um,
yeah.
if I wasn't on Divinity, if I was the galley guy, I'd probably be considering running this. If I ever get to a run where I get to use Sleeper Stimulant instead of Divinity, I'll probably slap this on. Um, I don't think there's no shame in that. The reach on this thing for an SMG is
Yeah.
60 for a reach. That's absurd for an SMG.
You know what a Vice SMG performs like, right? Regardless of recluse,
It's
we've
great.
we've
It's
seen
a
this.
900 RPM, which I really, really like when it comes to an SMG. I actually have a problem because of Recluse. I have a problem with doing anything lower than Icolos's 750.
Yeah,
I have a hard time going lower than that with an SMG. It's why I like Shayura's, but I've really, really struggled with Shayura's because it's a 600, and that does not mean it's bad at all. I've just struggled going down to it, and it's part of why I've also liked Sweet Sorrow so much this season as an auto rifle. Is it fires like it's an SMG instead, and I real that and Chroma Rush, and even and great.
it's an SMG with an extra half foot of barrel on it, right?
Basically, yeah. But anyways, like I said, we would have been remiss to have had this entire discussion and not bring Funnel Web up. You simply have to. It's the best world drop in the game. There's no question about it. It's the best weapon. You can actually get the drop from one of the foundries right now. I this gun, I have a feeling they found it out in playtesting, is probably the chief reason why not all of the foundry guns are craftable. Because if you could just walk in and craft this with the exact specs I just laid out, frenzy subsistence, flared magwell, and small bore, like just Jesus
That
Christ,
and you
Jesus
you
Christ,
still need to care about random drops somewhere, right?
you
Which is
do.
why I feel like these world drops, like the I didn't put it on my list, but it definitely deserves to be brought up. The Kanita Amalon hand cannon is a new like S tier crucible option, and that's only a random world drop. I feel like the world drops got a lot of love this go around because you
They
still
did.
need a reason to care about your end of match drops, right?
They did, and I think that's exactly why Funnel Web's on the list.
Yeah.
So John, do we have any closing thought? I guess I'm hesitant to talk about crafting now with the changes that we know are coming. And I feel like I kind of like beat everybody over the head with my initial impressions of crafting, aka they're not great. Like I've even made it really clear on this episode alone that I don't really plan on doing a whole lot of crafting until they remove all the unnecessary elements. Once they remove all that, then I'll be much more invested. Like right now, all I'm chasing in terms of crafting is because the world drops, so very few of them are craftable. Like it's like
Yeah.
syncopation and like maybe two others. I can't
The
craft
the
oilless
the
drops.
the seasonal and the raid weapons are very much worth crafting.
Yep, yep.
But
I
we beat
I
those to
have
death. So
I have laid out my grievances with attempting to get red border weapons. Every
yeah,
Tuesday, John has to hear me go, "God fucking damn it!" when I don't get anything out of like the 7 pieces of loot that I get from my first couple chests of the week for psyops, or for doing a legends. I get like 7 pieces of armor, or I get like 7 weapons, no red borders. That's something that I think has to have a pass on. Like something like the Wellspring it's annoying, but okay, I get it, especially with the updated changes. With seasonal stuff, I think that needs to be a lot more forgiving with red borders, and I think that's kind of the note I want to end this on with weapons. Is if there's a final crafting note I can kind of put out there, deep sight weapons need to have better drop rates because I'll tell you, I get plenty of deep sight weapons, but almost none of them are uncraftable weapons, and that is infuriating. I've gotten
I
so mad. I've gotten to the point where like I'll look at the perks, and if I don't like the perk combo, I just delete it. I don't even bother doing the gun anymore because I'm so mad. The struggle has been real to get red border weapons from the season, as far as I'm concerned. I was telling John, I saw some people saying like the beginning of week 3, like, "Oh my god, I finally can craft all of the seasonal weapons." And I'm like, "The fuck? I've gotten like one red border this entire time, and it was for the machine gun." Like, I haven't gotten them on any of the optimal weapons. I finally got my first red border piece of mine the other day to drop, and let me tell you something. I damn near ran down my hallway screaming. Like my
um
neighbors must have thought that like something horrible happened because I screamed so loudly when I got it.
I I do want to bring one thing up for crafting before we wrap it up here.
Yeah.
Um, while I think finding the right balance for red border drops is tricky because again, you do have to keep in mind that's one chase and then you're done, right? Like once you have it
Hmm.
unlocked for crafting, that's it. You don't have to grind for it anymore. You play with the weapon, you pick the perks you want, you're done. So I'm not saying that they don't need to increase it, but I also understand why it is as rare as it is. So they need to play with that. But the one thing specifically with seasonal weapons and crafting, Josh, you remember last year during Season of the Lost when suddenly an archetype of gun we have never fucked with because it's always been trash, linear fusion rifles, came into the meta, and suddenly everyone wanted a god roll threaded needle.
Yep.
And you had to go back and grind out a
Don't,
previous season
it's
activity.
still a sore subject for me. I don't want to talk about it. I turned in no less than 60 engrams trying to get 60, probably
Yep.
closer to 100 engrams trying to
And
get
what did
one.
you have to do to get those hammer charges to even
Oh,
turn those in? You
I
know?
didn't even bother. I didn't even bother. I dumped
Yeah.
them all into the engram where you had like a 1 in 3 shot of it.
So the point I want to bring up right now of regard, I'm not saying they don't need to tune the drop rates of red borders or whatever, but the one small beauty of the weapon crafting system with these seasonal weapons is once you have the pattern unlocked, even if you don't bother to grind it out into an enhanced god roll, once you have that pattern unlocked, let's say 3 seasons from now, you suddenly find out LMGs are the shit. LMGs are the thing you need to go for, and stasis is back. So you need a stasis LMG. Well, you unlocked that pattern 4 months ago. You
Yeah.
don't need to go back and grind some old seasonal activity to earn an irrelevant currency to try to get one of the rolls. You're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna pull this out of collection and build one, and then I'll
Right.
spend a
That
couple
doesn't
days.
bother me. Yeah,
Yeah,
that doesn't bother
I,
me.
I think that's a huge plus. Imagine if you would have been able to. Okay, well, I didn't really make a good threaded needle, but because I unlocked the pattern, I can go get that now. And I think that's something that's
That
gonna.
doesn't bother me. I totally get I get the merit to that. What bothers me is getting so many of these weapons that don't give you patterns is what I'm getting at.
Mhm.
Like when I get those, like when I get the viced sidearm for the 50th time that has a red border, I just start deleting them. I don't care. It's not unlocking anything for me. There's no point to this. I would rather just erase this and move on with my life. And that's not a point that I want to be at, but I'm just so annoyed with the drops. I think the drop systems are just they're abysmal. They're bad. They're not good. And that's fine. Like I'm okay with needing to refine this and change it as we noted before like Marvel or not Marvel, god. I'm thinking about Moon Knight again. Uh
Which
Bungie
I'm
has
gonna
been
watch
really
right
good with
after this.
yeah, Bungie's been really good about this in the past. And I have no problem believing that, if they hear the feedback enough, they'll change it. By
Yeah.
contrast, I've actually been really refreshed with the red border drops in raids. I actually think that Vow of the Disciple, it's been a pretty fair balance. As far as I'm concerned, they give a guaranteed way to get a red border every week. But I would just like to see. I'm not even asking for a massive increase. I'm asking like maybe like a 15-20% increase in them being a thing in seasonal activities, just because that's something that we play for 2 or 3 months and then we don't go back to. Like, just
Yeah.
let me get to a point where I can unlock that border and then move on. Also, like, make it a little bit more consistent across the board. There's some of these that require 5, there's some that require 2 or 3. Um, and I'm always like just kind of surprised, like, oh, I got this one really quickly, and like, oh, I still have a lot to go on this one. Like, I think all the seasonal weapons are 5 except for the grenade launcher, which is only 3 somehow.
I think the
Um,
bow's only 3 too. Yeah, it's weird how they
so
arbitrarily
weird.
decide how many you need.
I hate it. I hate it so much, especially when it's on the heavy weapons. But you know what? For all the gripes that I have, I am happy that weapon crafting exists as it does, because otherwise, I don't even want to think about how bad it would be. Like you said, trying to just throw things into the recaster repeatedly, like giving me the option to be able to buy a guaranteed um, red border every single week is awesome. Like, I really just want to store up a shitload of Umbral energy by the end of this season if I haven't gotten all my red borders, and
Yeah.
just buy one every week. Then after that, like, I'll go run a couple
You're you're
battlegrounds.
you're trading luck for time, basically, right? Like if you don't get
Yeah.
lucky, you're guaranteed with time, and that's good in a game like
And I mean,
this.
especially once you get to the point where you have the perk of you can get it dropping from any playlist activity, like, it's not a great chance to get them, but it's still something. So I'll take a chance for getting more any day over having to run like 4 or 5 fucking battlegrounds in a week. Like, God, I'm already tired of running them. I understand why we have to run them, but the legend ones have killed any enthusiasm I had for doing these. I just want to say that we've talked about legend activities, and oh boy, that is a whole nother part of the Vox discussion that we had a couple weeks ago. But we're going to go ahead and wrap up right there, though. We've just hit the 2 hour mark, which I think is about all that I can
I
take,
thought this was
about
supposed
all
to be
you
another
need. This is
short session
definitely. I
here.
was not planning on this being a short one, but we did spend about an hour talking about weapons. So, John, thank you for joining us again
Of
tonight,
course.
filling in for Corey. I appreciate it. I know he does too. Um, Corey will be back next week, everybody, for episode 87. We're getting really close to episode 100. We'll hit that sometime, probably at around the end of June, beginning of July. We'll hit episode 100. Gonna have to think of something fun for that. Our estimations were definitely off on how long it would take us to get there. At first, we were like, "Oh, it would be really cool if we could coincide this with like the announcement of the next expansion in August." And like, nope, we're gonna beat that estimation by about 6 or 7 weeks. Thank you, extra episode, for keeping us back on track. But Corey will be back. I will be back next week. We will talk about seasonal weapons. I want to read a little bit more of the seasonal lore and go into that. And we'll see whatever they decide to talk about in the next week. I'm really hoping we get details on what's coming next, Arc or Solar, here pretty soon. I know we probably need to get maybe another week or two into April before they'll really start talking about that information. Since I'll be third week of May, 22nd. I think 22nd or 24th is when it starts. And we have a couple things to get through before then. Just like kind of personally and pop culture wise, we have some things we got to get through before then. So you guys have a great week, and we will catch you again next week. From me, from John, from Corey, thank you for listening, and we will see you Starside.